And away we go. It is the Nightcap, brought to you by Galactic Fried Chicken, right here on BearcatJournal.com. As always, visit www.galacticfriedchicken.com. Download the app for Android, iPhone, everything Galactic. Get down to Dayton, Kentucky. Tell them to pump it up. Save yourself 15%. And you could not maybe find a more perfect day than to go sit on the balcony at Galactic, have a cold beverage, enjoy some great tendies, some fried chicken, some chicken dunkers, get you some fries and coleslaw, some fried pickles, all that good stuff. Or go to the app and get it delivered pretty much anywhere inside the 275 loop, right to your front door. All right, Aaron, we've got more stuff, more happenings.
Yeah.
As it seems like this is just going to be the norm in this window right now.
Okay.
It's just like the spring window. The spring window is always, there's always been after the spring game a window of commitments.
Correct.
But now it's also a transfer portal window. So
Yes.
I just assume every night we're going to sit in this space and talk about who's in the portal, who's committing to the program in the 2024 class, and then here in the next week or so, we'll start talking about what backfill commitments are going to be added from the portal as well. So it's just people always think this job, you go from the start of the football season in September to the end of the basketball season in March, and then we get the summer off. Now, that might be how some places do it, like the Record, the paper of note, whatever, in this town. No comment. But here at Bearcat Journal, we do this every day. So every day, we're going to be here talking about it. Would you like to talk about incoming or outgoing first?
Let's talk about outgoing first, because that's a quicker conversation if we're going to be honest.
Yeah. There was one pretty significant loss today into the transfer portal, and that was safety Armorion Smith.
Because he's legit on the field, is unhinged.
Yeah, he's at safety. You kind of like having those guys that you just know are going to fly around at absolute top speed at all times and make plays. He did it on special teams. Mm-hmm. He was a significant contributor on special teams. He made plays at safety this past season. So unfortunate for a couple reasons. He was not out there for spring practice this year. I do think with him and Jaheim Thomas, who we talked about, last week, it's such a tough spot. New staff, you don't participate in spring. People are competing for your spot and elevating themselves into your spot, and you're on the sidelines watching. And I think that is one of those areas where you're just going forward, you're just likely to see guys enter the portal because it's a hard spot to be in, if we're being honest.
Well, it leaves safety a little thin too, right? I mean,
a little bit, yeah.
Right now, as I'm looking at the depth chart from the spring game, you have Jacob Dingle, who
broke his neck, or
you
back, or like whatever.
Something with the something with the spine.
He broke a vertebrae. Yeah.
DJ Taylor,
who was very good this spring.
Brian Threats.
Yeah.
Isaiah Cox, Amarian Smith, and James Camden has moved to linebacker.
But Taj Ward did play a little bit at safety.
Sure. He has moved, and I wrote about that on my 2 deep actually, that he had been filling in at safety as well. But again, that leaves you a little thin at safety. Where we were talking last year that we thought safety was one of the deeper spots,
growing into a deeper spot on the team. Yeah.
Looking at you, Ethan, right? Like there's a spot for you, bud.
He wants to be a running back, so he's going to be a running back.
That's a full room. Just saying.
I know.
Just saying. You want to see the field? You want to see the field on a lot more opportunity basis?
I think Ethan Wright could be an NFL safety. So, but You got to want to do it.
I know.
Like before we can give our
on my wish
on
list.
things.
It's on my wish list.
Yeah,
so
we can give our opinion on things. But if the kid wants to play running back, like his heart's going to be a running back.
Well, and then do something to separate yourself at running back. Whereas at safety, you're starting to make some noise. Anyway, I don't want to dwell too much on that. Just this is one of those spots though where, with Jonah Lytle and with Malik Rainey, if you're on the team, you're in your third year with the system.
So let's set that up. The other two names to go into the portal, cornerbacks, Malik Rainey, who was kind of a nickel corner that I don't think fits a smaller. The previous staff liked the idea of those smaller, shiftier nickel corners. We are seeing this staff use that as more of a hybrid linebacker safety. That doesn't fit Malik Rainey. So it makes sense. And Jonah Lytle was, I guess, an outside corner, but he had just not fought his way up the depth chart going into year 3.
And they're both listed at 5'11".
Malik Rainey is not 5'11".
I'm just telling you what they're listed at.
That would mean I'm listed at 5'11".
Well, maybe with cleats on.
No.
In any
with cleats on.
In any case, again, if you're gonna stick around, we've said that even when Luke was here. I expect nothing different with a new staff in place. If you're going to stick around, you got to crack the 2 deep in your 3rd year. Otherwise, I mean, there's no kinder way to put this, but find a place where you can play, right? Like
the odds are against you. If you have not cracked the 2 deep in the spring of your 3rd year, the odds are against you heavily.
Yeah.
That's just being honest. Like that's an honest assessment of things. And if players are being honest with themselves, like you just said, maybe I need to go find somewhere where I'm going to be in a better position on the roster.
And if you weren't doing that in the AAC, it's not going to be
any
easier on a Big 12 roster. So you hate to see guys leaving the program, but at the same time, if it's in best interest of both parties involved, so be it. That said, there were some additions today, and those additions were linebacker Simeon Coleman, who comes in as a 3-star, listed at 0.8581, number 946 in the country. Again, staying above that 1,000 window, 91st in his position, 27th in the state of Maryland, from St. Francis Academy out of Baltimore. And Cale Woodburn, a wide receiver, another shifty, quick, smaller receiver, listed at 5'9", 155, coming out of Georgia. You know a little bit more on him as his rankings aren't here, but
yeah, it's another one of, just like we saw with Dakari Anderson, another guy that runs sub 11. Like he runs the 100 meters in the 10s, and track season hasn't even started for his junior year. This is a guy that's running like 10.7, high 10.7s, low 10.8s, which is flying in the 100 meters. So I think this was a roster devoid of those inside speed threats.
Well, you only had 2 guys in the slot at the spring game.
Yeah.
So now,
and like Dave and I talked about on the BCJ podcast, Leslie Ando and Barry Jackson are not like smaller, shiftier track guys. Like they're just, that's not who they are. They are both potentially quality slot receivers, but they're not,
they're hands guys.
Using them. Yeah, you're not using them confidently in like jet sweeps and bubble screens and those plays where you get a guy in space and let him make a play. And you have to have that element on your roster. So I think between Dakari Anderson and Cale Woodburn, 2 guys from Georgia, those Warner Robbins and Perry are pretty close. They visited together on April 3rd. So maybe we have another Tyler Scott, Trey Tucker situation
That'd be fun.
With 2 speed guys that know each other and have competed against each other and like on the track and have a lot of respect for each other. I can't say that for certain yet. I do know there's a picture of the 2 of them when they visited on April 3rd, like together. So that would lead me to believe they were up here together.
It does elevate Cincinnati up to the number 23 overall rank in the country. And I believe number 2 in the Big 12 at this point.
You're right. Oklahoma and Texas, I think, are ahead. I think they might be number 3.
I'll double check on that while we're talking, but
yeah, either way, like you're doing a really good job at the start of your class, and this is, a note to those people that like to freak out about things. Sometimes in life, it's important to just let life happen, and it will fix itself, and it will correct itself. But it's pretty clear when you're seeing what they're doing with their additions that they feel like this roster needs some athleticism. It needs some top-end speed, and I agree with that.
Texas Tech right now is the only team ranked above Cincinnati from the Big 12 at number 17. Oklahoma State is at 25. And
Oklahoma and Texas are ahead.
Nope.
Really?
Nope.
Oh, that was average player ranking I think Dave was looking at when he put that out there.
They're not ahead. UCF at 36, Baylor at 39.
You're looking at team ranking, not average player ranking. Those are all. There's so many different ways to look at this stuff. Whatever. It's not a big deal.
I am looking.
So the bottom line being, we're at the beginning of the cycle, and Cincinnati is holding their own with their peers in the Big 12. Any way that you slice it, be it overall ranking, be it average player ranking, they are doing an adequate job. Dave and I talked about this. I'm interested in getting your opinion.
I just wanted to throw out Wisconsin is only ahead of Cincinnati by 4 spots and only has 1 more 3-star than we do. Just saying. Grass isn't always greener.
Sometimes the grass is just green.
Anyway.
Sometimes the grass is just green.
What did you want to get my opinion on?
Quay Qua, bird song.
Yeah.
Has scheduled an official visit, or non-official visit, an unofficial visit to UCF one day after he committed to Cincinnati. Your take, I know it agitated a lot of people. Your take on a guy committing to your school and then one day later announcing that he's still visiting other places.
Well, first and foremost, I want to say that if a kid is a junior in high school, hopping in their mentions or quote tweeting them to give your opinion is probably a little out of pocket. Just saying. That said,
dumb as fuck is how I would put it.
That said,
get over yourself.
Once they are, paid athletes via NIL, I think that the rules kind of change, but that's just me.
I think the rules don't like. The rules have never changed. They will never change.
I just you're paid professional athlete.
Well, but just in general, as your value elevates, your leverage elevates. When you're landing kids that are like, you're their best offer or you're by far their best option, you can tell them, if you go visit somewhere else, we're out.
Well, and I was only referring to social media aspect.
Yeah. I'm talking about the reality of big time recruiting. So
it's going to happen.
It's a new world that Cincinnati is entering that none of the fan base is really accustomed to.
Well, and Dave brought up, I think he said, 23 people, 32 people, whatever the number was. From Texas A&M are already gone since last season in the transfer portal.
The number 1 recruiting class in the country. It's almost completely decimated.
Which clearly you're not doing it the right way if that's what is going on. You're not building relationships. You're just throwing money at people. And that's a whole different conversation for a different day. But
we'll probably have at some point.
Sure. I don't doubt that. We have enough of these to do. But I don't know. I mean, I get the vitriol with Luke established a certain culture in that if you were going to commit to me and you wanted to take other visits, go take your other visits. You don't have a home here. And
Luke also
struggled
recruited in circles,
struggled retaining recruits. That was a thing that Luke struggled with.
At the end, yes.
Yes.
Not overly, but
in the new NIL world, he did struggle with that a bit. That said, and that out of the way, you gotta just roll with the punches, right? Like kids are going to take their visits. You're going to have kids that are flipped. That's just the nature of the beast. And would you rather that the kid was upfront about it, public about it, or would you rather he was sneaking about it, as we've seen happen in the recruiting world at
way
Cincinnati?
More than we've ever let on?
Correct. And guys ended up getting flipped to places like Kentucky and things of that nature after they had committed.
Lying about visits and things of that nature.
I'm okay with the kid. We've hosted kids at Cincinnati who have committed to UCF. So if he's going to visit UCF, fine. If he falls in love with UCF,
whatever.
Fine. It's going to happen. And that's part of this. When you start recruiting in these circles, these bigger 4 stars, 5 stars, things are going to get weird. There's going to be gobs of money thrown at kids, especially when UCF right now sitting at 36 in the team rankings. They're not where Cincinnati is. So maybe they have a little bit more money to throw for a big splashy player or something of that nature. Whatever. This is going to happen. Maybe it's nothing. Maybe we're making a big deal out of something that is a big nothing burger and he's just taking visits because he can. And maybe he finds that he did actually really like Cincinnati instead of Gus Malzahn.
Maybe you get to go to Orlando and go to a couple parties that night. Be a 17 or 18-year-old or what. I mean,
In April, where it's gorgeous in Florida this time of year for all the reasons.
We're going to have to, as a collective fan base, grow some tougher skin because the game has changed and everything is different and everything we knew isn't what it used to be. So just remember that as we go forward, when we start flipping out because somebody that's committed is taking an unofficial visit to somewhere pretty close to them. It's okay.
I think you can have those types of conversations on social media if you want to without retweeting, subtweeting, those kinds of things. The actual kid.
I'm so close to just being out on Twitter unless it's like very specific.
Welcome to my world. Hashtag Bearcats in the NFL.
Yeah. It is what it is. We'll see you next time. Thanks for tuning in. It's a Nightcap, brought to you by Galactic Fried Chicken, right here on BearcatJournal.com.
See ya!